Newsom's California pushes billions in reparations payments as state faces budget deficit disaster. State task force proposes doling out $360,000 per person as amends for slavery. California, which never allowed slavery, is nonetheless considering giving hundreds of billions of dollars to black residents in reparations as a way to make amends for slavery, raising practical questions about how a state already facing a massive budget deficit could swing such an expensive program. The California Reparations Task Force, which was created by state legislation in 2020, is weighing a proposal to dole out just under $360,000 per person to approximately 1.8 million black Californians who had an ancestor enslaved in the U.S., putting the total cost of the program at about $640 billion. If California can admit its sins and change the narrative, then there is a way forward for states and cities across the nation, California Secretary of State Shirley Weber, who wrote the bill creating the task force when she served in the state assembly, said last week. It's unclear, however, how California would pay for such an extensive project. Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom, who signed the bill creating the task force and appointed most of its members, announced in January that the state faces a projected budget deficit of $22.5 billion for the coming fiscal year. The figure represented a striking downturn from last year, when the state enjoyed a surplus of about $100 billion due to federal COVID relief and surging capital gains. To make matters worse, the California Legislative Analyst's Office (LAO), a government agency that analyzes the budget for the state legislature, estimated in a subsequent report that Newsom's forecast undershot the mark by about $7 billion, thanks to about $10 billion less in tax revenues than expected. Chaz Alamo, the LAO's principal fiscal and policy analyst, appeared remotely last week at the task force's second in-person meeting in Sacramento, where members of the public were allowed to give comments as the panel considered how the state might implement its recommendations. Alamo discussed several paths that could be possible for ultimate recommendations by the task force to flow through the legislature and become state law, and how they can apply to the creation of the California American Freedmen Affairs Agency (CAFAA). The proposed agency would oversee reparations authorized by the state. The creation of a new agency would be initiated through the governor's executive branch and reorganization process, but other options exist, said Alamo, according to California Black media. Regardless of the path, to initiate a new agency or enact any other recommendation that makes changes to state law, fundamentally both houses from the state legislature would have to approve the action and the governor will have to sign it.